Hey, so it's my great pleasure to welcome Louise Liu to Building New Realities, the Future Visual podcast, where we talk with experts in the XR industry. And as well as talking about specific technical items, we try to find out a bit more about their background, projects they're excited about, and a bit more about their world wider view. So welcome, Louise.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Tim.
Well, my pleasure. So Louise, at PwC, obviously a big company, you're head of operations and delivery for VR and AR. So we'll dive into that a little bit more. I thought a good place to start because PwC is one of these companies we're all familiar with, PwC, EY, these kind of big management consultancies, and we're sort of aware that they're these big organizations, but perhaps, and speaking personally, we don't really know much what they do beyond being a big organization. So before we dive into your kind of XR department, perhaps you just want to give us a bit of background on what PwC do.
Yeah, sure. So yes, PwC is very, very big and they're well known for the accountancy firm. But they do other things such as real estate, cyber, risk assurance, learning development and so on. So they do quite a lot of other areas as well. They have different teams that work in different areas. So we're quite diverse. And the good thing about being in a corporate company like PwC is that you get to learn new skills all the time. You can move around. So when I started in PwC, it was in cyber. So I was doing L&D in cyber. I moved to risk assurance, and then I moved around to help with the NEDs, which is the high level, board directors level, and so on. And then I found that I really enjoyed technology, which moved me into the disruption team and then the XR team. So you do quite a lot of things in there.
Right. So it's one of those companies that's sort of very embedded with large organizations and can offer employees sort of a large range or scope of work.
Absolutely. And that's why there are people that actually spend a lot of time in PwC over a few years, 10, 20 years. And because they can move around, they can learn new skill sets and develop new areas of what they want to learn and grow in that space as well. So they don't have to go to another company to do that.
So when was the XR department set up, and what did it come out of? Did it come out of some kind of existing innovation department? And what was the sort of temperature or response within PwC? Was it sort of driven internally, where you've got people like yourself and Jeremy who are sort of big enthusiasts, or was it a sort of wider response to the market?
So we started 3 years ago, just Jerry and myself, and we had one more person join the team. So it came about from the disruption team. So when I joined, my first role in disruption was to work with Jeremy to create a VR experience called City of the Future, which our disruption team used with clients and show them a future where there's a lot of different technologies and what kind of disruptors will affect their businesses and so on. And so from there, we thought, this is a really good tool. This is a technology that we can actually grow and build further on its own within PwC. And we sought permission and we got that, which is brilliant. And so that's how we started. And it was internal. We had to start internal because we need to make sure that our people understand technology and buy into it, because how would they sell it to our clients otherwise? So we spent a lot of time promoting it, educating our people, and showing them the art of the possible of this tech in soft skills training, for example, in remote collaboration and so on. And from there, we had lots of other teams come to us and say, hey, this is great. We just thought it was gaming, but it's not. You can do this with this type of training, for example, soft skills. And we got clients who are interested in that space. Can you help us? Can you build something for our clients and so on? And that's how we came and that's how we grew. And now we're a small team of about 10 people, but we also work globally with our other territories, other XR teams. And that's probably about over 100 people globally around PwC that deals with that voice in the XR space.
So that's growing nicely. So presumably your disruption team is sort of used to stress test your customers' businesses and say to them, okay, let's look at what threats you might not be aware of. I guess on the one hand, it's like, how can you operate more efficiently? But on the other hand, how can you sort of run a drill for threats that you're not aware of? Classic one here would be, the blockbuster Netflix example, your other customers that actually are sort of maybe a bit complacent or a bit like, well, we'll be fine because we've got 10,000 staff and, X billion turnover. And then some little startup can come along and kind of flip it on its head.
And really funny is that is one of the examples we use with our clients, the Blockbuster Netflix scenario, as a disruptor, because, they said, oh, we don't need to change our model. Our business model works. It's great. People like our videos, DVDs, and so on. But then, why, streaming is not going to work, and so on. And then seeing how it kicked off so amazingly with Netflix, and they're still growing. I have my Netflix account, and now Blockbuster's gone. So it's just showing. I think it's just bringing those examples forward to say, look, you didn't think this will happen, but it has. So from your business model, how you're growing, how your business works, do you think this disruptor or this new technology will affect your business in any way? And how can we help you? Bring that into your business model, and help you grow further, and so on. So it's been quite an interesting journey in disruption, working with clients, because some people saw it, the technology, as quite dystopian. It's really scary. Too much technology. There's no human interaction. That doesn't sound good to me. I'm a bit worried. I'm a bit scared of that technology and scared of using it. So our role is really to bring that to life, to show what can happen with this technology in their business, and just calm them down and help them understand it a little bit more. Look at the different areas and start small, basically, and then grow the confidence, and then grow that progress as we go along with them in that journey with them.
Yeah, I guess having examples like the Blockbuster Netflix example is quite a nice one for you guys to have in your back pocket.
Absolutely.
You thought it couldn't happen, but here is an incredible example, really, included with all great micro stories, of course, where they tried to sell Netflix to Blockbuster, which would have been a very smart business move. So
absolutely, yeah,
it's made your life a bit easier. So, what was your background prior to starting to work at PwC?
Oh gosh, so it's quite varied. Though I did a shipping degree. A lot of people was like, "What do you do maritime studies?" Like, yeah. So and they thought I want to go shipping, be a sailor or something of some sort. And I said, no, I actually was interested in international trade. So my degree had the business angle of it, you see, and I did that. But I ended up being a reporter for a shipping magazine. That was my first job.
Right.
Very bizarre. And it was good fun. I got to see a lot of places, a lot of ships' engines, pistons moving up and down and everything. So that was quite nice. But what happened was that I actually fell into the design side, because it being a small shipping magazine, you were able to actually do editing yourself. I didn't have to go to the design department. And I actually found I enjoy doing graphic side. I enjoy doing the website and design side. So I actually moved into that space. So my background more is graphic design, web design, the creative side of things. And I think that's what I'm bringing into the VR space, creating virtuality experiences, creating web AR experience, and so on. So that was really my background. So it's pretty interesting. And I'd never really was interested in VR. I never thought about it until I started doing it and working in that space. And now, that passion has grown, which is great. And I'm learning on the job. I'm still learning, because there's so much new technology out there, and that's bringing it all to life a bit more, and really being able to help our clients, help our other teams grow, and create something that's so immersive. Is really good fun, actually, and seeing the reaction from people is just amazing.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I think the wonderful thing about our field is we don't really know where the destination is. We don't really know where it's going to end up or where it's going to take us. So from your background, obviously there's a great interest, or the logistics of shipping, which in itself has become more and more advanced and changed kind of radically in terms of containerization and just the efficiencies and even the supply, like the size of tankers that have been built, and therefore the bidding on spaces, and how that changed to sort of reflect the economy. It is a really interesting business piece in itself.
It is. I mean, the size of vessels are so big now, and it's crazy. It's crazy the amount of containers that you can fill up, put on a ship, and so on. And one thing I had to do was actually learn to load a container vessel without breaking it in half.
I will actually get one of the containers on the tank.
Yeah, so no, not like that, but more working out in
Oh, right.
theory rather than practical.
Allocating the load. Right, they didn't actually get you on the crane.
No, it's a shame actually. That would have been quite amazing actually, because I'm probably had to break the ship in half and so on. But part of the degree was to do that, so it's quite fun. It's like you used to learn the practical sides and things like that, and how to make sure you can load oil tanker without blowing it up as well, because different fuels, you have 4 pipes and so on. And I've probably forgotten everything now and so on. You tell me to do it now, I wouldn't have a clue.
Well, it just shows you there's a science in everything, isn't there? And I think where you're starting to go with what you're doing in VR is obviously the UX, right? We're all students, we're all beginners in this nascent understanding of UX. We're just making up the rules and just going, well, does this feel right? It doesn't feel like there's any kind of there's some basic protocols in terms of locomotion and some early stuff on crude avatars, but we're really at the very, very, very beginning of what good VR UX looks like.
Absolutely. And I feel that trial and error really helps. If we have that time to do testing, just say, what happens we do this, and actually push the boundaries is very important for us as well when we create our experiences, because we think about, this looks great, this is the norm, this is what people have, but what happens if we do something else? Can we do it, and how can we do it? And we really push our developers, the team, to say, okay, think outside the box. Can we work this in another way? Can we use this technology in another way? And how can we make it much more exciting for the user when they actually enter this experience as well? So for us, that's what we do. Our team, we push the boundaries, we push the technology as far as we can. And that's what we did with an experience that we created recently called In My Shoes. It's a diversity inclusion experience that we created for the firm. And this to be used for our internal training for 20,000 of our employees, looking at putting the user in the shoes of a person of a different ethnic minority, and putting them through the microaggressions, for example, the issues that they encounter throughout the day in their personal life as well as a work life as well. So being able to do that was great. And what we did because we had to film this during COVID times, it was really difficult to make sure we had enough social distancing for our actors and the crew and so on. So we chose to use volumetric technology to film this experience. And that was with Dimension Studios down in London, South London. And in that space, it was just like a 2-meter circle. And that was it, in a green room with 106 cameras. And we can only maximum have 2 people in that room to be filmed. And that was quite a challenge, because our script, we had 3 characters in that space talking to each other. So what we had to do was film 2 people, take the recording, put it through an earpiece for the third person. So when the third person went into filming, we had to time it so that they spoke at the same time as when they should speak in the script, with pretending that there was actually even 2 other characters with them in that space. And then we put it all together. So, we were really trying out, and then think about when we had the 2 videos, how could we get it right to merge them in that one video in that environment that we created.
Nice. So that was a good R&D piece then, and actually sort of solving a problem of the distance and COVID security, which obviously is a high priority in a firm like yours. And you got to play with some good high-end volumetric stuff.
Absolutely, and that was quite amazing actually, and there's a big learning curve. And I just feel that with this technology, like you're saying, it's still. As it's been going for a long time, but still in its infancy in a way, isn't it, with the technology? So you're learning new things all the time, and you're learning new ways of creating virtual reality experiences with the technology that's out there as well, which is quite a fun thing to do.
Well, it's good to hear you mention In My Shoes. It sort of leads on to a question around, the sort of, I've got 2 questions on that really. The product types and experiences you're developing. I understand obviously a lot of them will be NDA, but any that you can talk about, and talking about in the context of building new realities, where are you seeing application or interest? Because at Future Visual, traditionally our background has been in high risk, high value training, and it's quite logical. Like, oh yeah, well, people can't normally access those type of environments, or you can't. The likelihood of people being around planes when there's a fire or some kind of life-threatening type of injury is very rare. So that makes a lot of sense. And that's building a new reality, but building a new reality is sort of around the empathetic piece, which I can see when you're working in large organizations at scale. That really is building a new reality, isn't it? You're literally trying to build a new mindset, or at least give people an insight, which I guess the output from it is you want to create a conversation. So, a lot of what we've found with VR over the years is that it just allows people to talk after they've been in VR in a way where the barriers have come down a bit, because they've been in an environment that's felt real. They're then able to afterwards go, oh, well, you're always like that, or I always find this in the office, or because they feel that they've been in the office, it feels like less challenging to then talk about it face to face. So I get a couple of questions there, like what kind of other products have you built, and where do you see the sort of the interest or the movement in building new realities via those products?
So I would say, In My Shoes was one of those products, I would say, from there, because it actually brought the empathy out in the user. And when majority of the people that we put them through, they came out crying, or they came out really, really quiet and said, look, I just need a few minutes, because that was just so immersive. I just felt that I was there, and I felt the aggression, I felt the anger, and all that, and the emotions came out, and so on. And at the end of the day, what we've done is, when we put them through the experience, we actually have a debrief with them, because it's very important to find out how they felt, what the experience did for them, and for us to really work out how can we improve that technology, or if we're creating something like this again, what do we need to do, what are the other things that we need to think about as well. So for us, that type of training was really helpful in bringing out the understanding and helping the mindset, as you say, definitely, of that person. Think about, if they've never encountered these situations, these scenarios, what would they do now that they've been through it? They've had the feeling, they actually feel really hurt by something, and so on. If they're in that situation again, what would you be doing? How would you react? Will it be different? And majority of the time is, when we speak to these people that work with the users who work with experience, it'd be, I actually will think differently now going forward. There's no, before I wouldn't have thought about that, because it's something I've never encountered. And now that I've encountered it, being through it, I was so immersed. I actually it felt so real. And that's what's important about it. And that's the magic of the technology, because I had people, the phone's ringing, they actually reached out to pick up the phone, and the phone was actually in the experience itself. So, and that was really important, because for us, it was like, we made something that really was impactful, to really make them show some emotions, show how they felt, but also the takeaway was that they were able to think differently going forward, change their perspective, change their attitude towards other people was really important as well. And I think that's what we're trying to show, and that's what we're trying to achieve there. To actually have that kind of impact is really important for us as well.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that insight on that. Are there any other products you can talk about?
The emotions are not, but I think we're actually looking at creating, because I used to work in cyber, and this is something that's come about because a lot of our teams come to us say, look, we can show our client, because they know what this scenario would be like if, they're in a cyber experience, like a ransomware attack. So they learn, and we created an experience like that a few years ago for them, where we put you were either CEO, CFO, or CISO, and then you had to make decisions during the cyber attack. Ransomware attack. Now, what we're thinking of this time around is flipping it from the eyes of the attacker. So this is quite an interesting one, where we want to show, because the dark web, hackers, no one really knows how that works. No one understands how they do it. How did they get in? What are they thinking? How do they think? And so on. So what we're doing now is flipping it around to say, okay, we're going to put you, the user, in the role of a hacker, and this is what a hacker would do, and this is how they get into your organization. So we want to change that angle around. And I think, this is quite an interesting one, because people think, oh, we need to just do this, call cyber team in, they can implement all these tools and protect us and so on. But how do you know what to protect if you don't know what they're going for and how they're getting in? So that's what we're working on as well. So that's another experience that we're looking at, they're putting together. And that's all I can say.
Yeah, in fact, no, that sounds really interesting. And so when you're talking to your customers, what sort of time horizons are some of them saying, okay, it's not for us now, but we can see how this fits in 5 years, 10 years? I mean, how far out does sort of strategic conversation, without naming names, the sort of strategic conversations sort of tend to go?
Yeah. Oh, actually, it varies so much. So some of our clients, they want it now, there and then. They said straight away we want it, and so on. And we could easily be kicking off a project a couple of weeks after chatting to them. All right. Because they know what they want. For some customers, they want to do it. They've heard about it, but they don't really know about technology. So what we do is run some sessions with them to just go through the technology itself, the hardware, let them try out the hardware, show the types of software that you can use within those hardware. And then what they do is they naturally think about how they can do this. And so we look at, what their issues are with their organization, and we just help them talk about it and say, actually, this particular piece of hardware might work for this because it can do this, this, and this. And that will take a longer process, and that could take up to a year maybe or something before they say, actually, we've got something that we want to work on, and our team's interested, X team's interested, so can you have a chat? So, it's different stages. I think our clients are all at different stages, so it's just understanding at what stage they're at and how can we help them in that space.
Yeah, understood. And what do you find are the sort of greatest technical challenges, either in project delivery or in customer communication?
Technical challenges. For me, a few things, right? So with it being, if we look at, not naming the tech itself, but if you look at some of the hardware that we have, how do you push the information? How do you push that across to the device? And there are a lot of device management systems, but we find the challenging one is finding ones that actually work really well, that cover certain areas. And certain companies will have their own ones for their own devices, but it might be limited in what we can do. So the challenge is getting everything to work tightly together in an ecosystem that works for everything. And in PwC, we have what we're envisioning at the moment is basically, when you join, you get your mobile phone, you get your laptop, but what happens if you also get your headset? Wouldn't that be great that, you actually come to work and you get everything like that? And so our challenge is how to build that into our current IT ecosystem. How can we, they're all on different Androids and so on, devices and things like that, but how do we make sure that we can have a good device management system that can push everything to your laptop, your mobile phone, your headset, and then you can just start your job and that's it. We've got that. So on. So that's our vision.
Oh, interesting. I mean, that kind of leads me into, do you pay any attention to cross-device experiences within your projects, or are your customers asking for it? So obviously at Future Visual, we work on multiplayer, multi-device a lot. So we focus on making environments accessible, not just from VR, but from mobile, from PC, all concurrently in the same space together. Is that something you guys work on? Is that something your customers have asked for?
It hasn't, but it's something that we have been working on. Some customers think it's just a VR headset and that's it. But we say, well, we can work on this VR headset, but we can actually work on this other VR headset as well. So when we create our VR experiences, it's not for that one single headset. It's for the other headsets, maybe competitive to those headsets. But because we need to think about different countries as well, because certain countries cannot get certain headsets as well. But so when we want to think about doing a global rollout for all our internal territories, our internal firms, we need to think about where they are and what headsets that they can use. So we think about developing there, but also we develop a desktop version as well, and so on. So we try to cover a lot of areas as well, because we don't want to, just limit it to that and that's it, because we want to open it to a wider market as well.
But sorry, what was that last sentence?
I was just saying, also we think about accessibility for our staff as well. We think about the captions, audio, making sure, we think about that part, those groups of people as well when we do this.
Yeah, when you make stuff available for PC, is that to be concurrent in the same scene? So when you've got someone in VR, you've also got someone in PC in there together.
Sorry, in what way do you say?
Well, if let's say I'm in Australia, you're in London, and we're on different headsets, so that's cool. We've taken care of the different headset angle. But let's say we've got someone in Germany on a PC, and we all want to be in the same scene together. And let's say we've got someone, just for good measure, in France on a mobile. The actual mixing together of a PC, a mobile, and two different styles of headsets in the same environment together.
We haven't gone that far, actually, to say that, because then that's like the metaverse, isn't it?
Well, that's what we build. We should have a chat after the call.
Have a chat, please. Yes, that'd be amazing. Actually, it'd be great, because I think, I've been reading on about the metaverse, and when I first heard it and heard about it, I was thinking, what is it? How does it work?
Yeah.
And I would like to find out more. I think it's just amazing being able to do that with lots of different devices. And that goes back to when you talk about technical challenges. It's like, how can we make sure that when we have that, our users, our new people that we're on board that join the firm, they have the laptop, the mobile, and the headset. Can they all three work together? Can you access using any of those devices to meet in the same place? And so on.
It is a technical challenge.
Definitely.
It does increase dev time, and it makes testing time particularly. I was going to say painful. That's not right. You just you need to allocate more time for testing. But it's part of, because obviously there's still such little access to VR headsets. So making sure everyone can get in there at the same time together.
Absolutely. But yeah, definitely we will talk about this offline, I think.
Yeah. Can you tell me about a project that changed your approach to your field? And it might be practical, like allow more time for testing, check on setup, have better tutorials, make sure someone's there with the clean box, anything kind of. It could be about the nature of the material, or it could just be about kind of protocols around it.
To be honest, it was in my shoes, really, that changed my approach. But I just feel that I think it's because of the time that it was being filmed, COVID and so on. So it just changed, like, I really need to consider certain situations as well when we do this. But to be honest, really, though, my approach is always changing, because it's, based on new learnings, because you're learning something new every time. So even though we're creating a VR experience, you might be using new technology. Right? So it could be hardware, it could be software, and so on. So everything is constantly evolving, and so on. So, like, within my shoes, the volumetric project, that's something that was never been done before, filming like that, and so on. And that was a technical challenge, and being able to move around it and develop it and being able to create a final product was quite a challenge. But that was good, because I learned a new approach to creating VR experience and so on. So I just think that it just changes constantly.
I think like we were saying, like, so much is new, and there's so much that we're aware of, but actually you don't get time to do it. No. And therefore, volumetric project, never done one before. So it's like, I know the theory of volumetric, but I've never, shot a Dimension Studio, or haven't been involved in comping those kind of files. So we're all aware of them, but it's when you go through them that you're like, oh, okay, this bit is tricky, this bit and
it's amazing, because, like, when we're doing it, I didn't realize you have to tie your hair back, and you're taping every single piece of clothing down, and certain clothing didn't even work either. So suede, if you're doing volumetric, people wear suede shoes works, right? So that's the colors go for. But even black, there's certain black you can't use either. So it's just amazing learning curve, and we had to do last minute wardrobe purchases because certain clothing didn't work in the studio.
What was the no material? What really didn't work?
Definitely not green, right? Because you're in the green.
Yeah,
definitely. But I think pattern, go for solid colors. Don't go for like small flowery patterns on your dress or your shirt.
No checks either. No check shirt.
No
flat plain colors, I'd imagine.
Solid colors, like maybe a maroon red or suede works. Leather could reflect light, so go for more matted colors as well.
Yeah.
But that summer I literally had so much shopping from ASOS, Amazon, everything was in my room. It was in my living room. I literally had the whole floor laid out with shoes and clothes, I had to pack them all up and drive to the studio because it didn't work. So we had literally a few days and we had to order stuff from Amazon, ASOS, and get delivery straight away.
Yeah.
For our actors to put on. So that was quite challenging, actually. So
that's something they need to issue at the studio, isn't it? They need to, as well as make sure your hands are clean. Like these are
definitely, yes. We had a little scare with one of our actors because she ran to the studio because she was a bit late, and they do the temperature check and so on, and she was a bit hot.
Yeah.
So she was a bit worried, like, no, I need to shoot. I'll be fine. I haven't got COVID. I reassure you. And so, look, just calm down, sit here for a bit and just cool down a bit. Maybe you'll be okay. Because it was one hottest day in the summer that we were filming this and so on. So, yeah, it was just crazy. It was a crazy day, but it was really good fun. It was really good fun.
Excellent. And sort of, and this might be, outside of the remit of XR and just fall into your more general interest, but kind of what are you curious about now?
Gosh. In general, anything.
Could be anything.
Anything. So, this sounds silly though, but my child, he's quite young. And I think for me, because like science is quite important, is quite an interesting, fact, and when you look at different things as well. And I just try to understand how certain people get hangry, right?
Yeah.
It's like it sounds weird, right? Just bear with me a moment. It's just that certain people I know, even myself, I can go through a day without eating and I'll be fine. But what I'm curious about is like what triggers it, and what is it that makes certain people, if they don't eat, they go crazy, they get angry, they get emotional and everything. It's like, what is it? What part of the body does that? Is it the brain? Is it the stomach? Is this just, what is it? Right? It sounds weird.
It sounds interesting. Is that because your child gets hangry?
So bad. He just, and I didn't realize that until a few weeks ago when we were out and he said, I'm hungry. And I said, look, we'll eat in a moment. Will you give me I'm just doing this. Let me get this done. Boom, that was it. Crying his eyes out, literally broke down.
Yeah.
And I've never seen that before. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious about that. I'm just because I think when you do this bringing VR into it, you're taking someone into a world that maybe they've never been to, or it's so real that their mind is thinking a different way. So for me, it's like, how does the brain work? I'm really curious about that. I'm really curious about how people react to certain things, how their consciousness work, and so on like that. So, so it's quite an interesting thing to think about. But it's just so, people say it's so normal. If they're hungry, just need food. But what triggers it? Because some people don't need food and they don't go hungry, and so on. So very interesting that.
That's a great answer. That's one of the first specifically non-technical responses I've had to that question. Cool. I think from personal experience, like it's because our bodies are machines, crudely putting, it can be to do with food nutrients that get used really quickly. So if you have sort
metabolism as well,
metabolism and glucose stuff, it can kind of get used really quickly. Whereas if you've got stuff that has a bit of a sort of longer metabolic lifespan, you can sort of bump around a bit. Because kids, don't know about your child, my child sort of tends to eat sugar and pasta. It's kind of like up down, up down, up down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great answer.
They eat a lot. But I'm still going to look into it. I think I'm just so curious. It's like, what is it? What triggers it so much? How easy can that get triggered? And,
I mean, the standard answer I get is just drink more water.
Is it? Not eat food?
Not eat food, just drink water if you're hungry.
I'll try that trick.
Just perhaps in terms of your career generally, just helpful for people. What do you wish you'd known when you'd started out?
Oh gosh. Okay, this is a funny one, right? So I think I wish I'd known about standalone headsets was a thing, that would become a thing. And the reason for this is that when I started in VR, I had to lug around a very heavy case with a tethered VR headset with a gaming laptop, with base stations, all the accessories, cables, HDMI cables, everything, extensions and everything. 22 kg that Pelly case was. And to be honest, that was a nightmare, because even though I managed to get to a location, you still had to set it up in time, and the technology never worked half the time. So you're troubleshooting until the very last 5 seconds before the client comes in, before it actually kicks in and starts working. And
oh, I've lost you. That's annoying.
So if I had known about standalone headsets will be a thing in a few years' time, I wouldn't have been cursing that Pelly case as much as I did when I had it. And that's what was, that's for me, that's what I would have wished.
I feel your pain on that one. In some ways, I think that's like the scars of any kind of early XR, not going to say evangelist, any XR enthusiast, or we all have got bruised ankles from lugging those boxes around. So the connection's just going a little bit funny, Louise. I'll just wait till your picture restarts.
It's okay. I've got you back now, so it's working. Yeah.
It's working for you. Okay.
Can you hear me that clearly?
I'm just going to wait for your end to kick in again.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like your picture is frozen.
Oh no.
Which is okay, because I can save this bit of the recording. Oh, hang on, what's going on here? Yeah. Louise, what I'm going to do is... I tell you what, let's just finish the conversation here, because otherwise if I stop it, it'll then take ages to record.
Okay.
But we can just put notes that your video froze, and just wrap up with a couple more questions. So I'm going to ask you the billboard question, because I like it. If you could have a billboard with anything on it to help build a new reality, what would it be and why?
Oh gosh. Okay. It would be, I would say, try everything. I would have that, try everything. I know it's a quote more than anything else, but I just feel that, if you don't try, you don't know. And I think people need to realize that, if you don't try it, you can think all these things about it, but unless you try, you don't know. And it's like food as well, right? It's like, oh, I don't like bananas, but have you tried it? No, I haven't.
Yes, I'm big in agreement with that. And my sort of pet peeve on that is when people go, oh, I hate so-and-so, normally a celebrity. And it's like, have you ever met them?
That's the thing. Yeah. So it's just changing that perception. And I suppose I'm not sure about building new reality on that one, but I just feel that you could build something new out of it, because if you tried it, maybe you could appreciate more and you learn from it. And it could be new skills that you've got. And that changes your whole life.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great billboard. And the other beauty of it is it's just simple, so you can make it nice, big and bold.
Definitely.
Cool. And in our final two questions, I'm going to ask you if you have any favorite theories. Like, I love Solomon's paradox, which suggests that it's easier to give advice to other people than to oneself.
Oh, that's so true, isn't it? Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I was speaking to my son. Yeah, this is my other child. A few weeks ago, and we talked about the mirror effect, because what I realized is that when I'm talking to friends or I'm talking to someone else, I just stop and consciously then realize that, oh, I've got my head in my hand, and they have the same with the right hand. It's like an opposite mirror effect. And I'm just curious about that and what that meant. And when I looked it up, there's funny things that the mirror effect is perceived as yourself. You perceive yourself through the eyes of others.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay. So, for example, if the other person, I suppose, like, good example, an interview, right? So if that other person, interviewer, was very happy, smiling, and so on, you'll have a good interview because you feel like you're building that rapport with that person. But then if the interviewer was really no eye contact, was rude and so on, you react the same way, won't you? React in a negative way. And so the mirror effect is there.
Yeah.
And so there's that subconsciousness, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but my son was really funny because he said, was it the infinite monkey theorem? I was like, pardon? And he was saying about, who is it? Some programmer. He created a software based on infinite monkeys. And so he created a loop of a system where they're virtual monkeys. There's millions of them, and they're programming, generating 9 characters, I think, sequences. And if you left it to run for a very, very, very long time, they could write a script like Shakespeare.
Yeah. It would take a while, though, wouldn't it? It would take a while. You need a lot of monkeys. I mean, it's a big number.
So I said that, that can't be good. That cannot work. And he said, yeah, it might, though. If you leave it long, it's like the end of time, probably.
Statistically.
Statistically. So, so I was like, I'm going to plug that in for him, actually, so he knows.
Might be a while.
Absolutely. I'm plugging that bit in for him, so he knows that I did think about it and talked about it. So.
Nice. Good to hear his recommendation. And have you got any books you would recommend that you've really treasured over the years or that you're reading currently?
I think I've got a few, but I think I do have to plug Jeremy Dalton's book, Reality Check.
Yep.
And I think it's how immersive technologies can transform your business, because I think if anyone wants to know about VR and AR, that is the book to read. Not just about how to create an experience and so on, but from a business angle as well. If you're like a startup and you want to learn a bit more about it and you want to be able to build this as a business, it's a very good book to read, definitely. And I would really recommend that book for anyone. And you can get it from Amazon.
Good recommendation. Well, Louise, it's been fantastic to talk to you. Thank you for giving us an insight into what you get up to at PwC. Really interesting, and also interesting to hear some of your personal story. And thank you for those great recommendations.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's been an amazing conversation. So can't wait to talk to you more about the metaverse. But yeah, thank you.
Nice one. Thanks, Louise. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.